Leveraging multi-tiered systems of support to enhance educational leadership. This document was developed with support from the Connecticut State Department of Education School Climate Transformation Grant, which was a 5-year annual renewable award established by the U.S. Department of Education. The work was designed to build capacity to develop, enhance, and expand Connecticut's statewide systems of support to local education agencies and schools using multi-tiered systems of support. The grant was a collaborative effort between the State Department of Education, the Center for Behavioral Education and Research at the University of Connecticut, LEARN, and the State Education Resource Center. The purpose of this document is to describe how school leadership standards align with the core tenets of MTSS, providing context for the value and relevance of the framework. Additionally, specific actionable examples and resources are provided so that the document may serve as a resource for both pre-service and in-service school leaders in leveraging the MTSS framework to organize and enhance effectiveness in supporting student learning. The purpose of this webinar is to orient the viewer to the information found in the document. Additional details and resources can be found by downloading the document from the Connecticut State Department of Education website. This webinar will be organized around 3 sections. In the first section, we describe the guiding values, organizing structures, and implementation features of MTSS. In the second section, we describe how MTSS aligns with leadership standards. And finally, in the third section, we provide an implementation example. The role of schools in addressing the needs of students, families, the community, and society is complex and has expanded considerably over the last decade. Not only must schools address academic standards and performance, but they must create safe spaces where mental health and social-emotional well-being are supported. Schools must also make efforts to minimize the overrepresentation of culturally and linguistically diverse students within special education, as well as those who are subjected to exclusionary discipline practices. And schools are most successful when they work in partnership with families in the community. Researchers have repeatedly demonstrated the importance of effective educational leaders for both student achievement and faculty job satisfaction, attitudes, collegiality, and overall commitment to school. Professional standards have been developed for educational leaders to guide the preparation and practice of leaders within the changing educational context. However, in order for school leaders and evidence-based practices to be effective and sustainable, it's important to ensure that educators have access to high-quality professional development, that there is alignment between initiatives and competing initiatives are removed. Additionally, initiatives must be identified as important priorities. They must have designated leadership, and they must also have access to necessary resources. Finally, cultural or contextual relevance is important to consider. MTSS originated from the public health and disease model. It was designed to emphasize prevention for all with increasing levels of targeted or individualized supports as indicated. MTSS provides a structure for organizing initiatives and related resources to address both academic and social-emotional or behavioral domains. When evidence-based practices are implemented within an MTSS framework, the effectiveness of those practices can be maximized in order to achieve clearly defined outcomes. A distributed leadership model where leadership is conceptualized as interactions between educational leaders, staff in supportive roles, and relevant contextual variables offers a useful approach towards MTSS implementation. Within this model, roles and responsibilities are distributed amongst stakeholders, and systems can be adapted to specific settings. MTSS originated in other 3-tiered approaches to supporting students, including Academic Response to Intervention, or RTI, and School-Wide Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, or SWPBIS. It has been conceptualized as the integration of a number of tiered systems into one comprehensive system intended to address both academic and social-emotional domains. MTSS provides a framework in which school leaders can address clearly defined, measurable outcomes. Data are used to support decision-making. Evidence-based practices are selected and implemented to support student behavior and academic performance. And systems are developed to support staff implementation of the selected practices. MTSS centers around the values of equity, inclusion, collaboration, and family and community partnership. These values serve as a primary filter for decision-making and action planning at all levels of implementation. MTSS organizing structures and implementation features support states, districts, and schools with systematically operationalizing these values. The MTSS framework rests on several key structures. Leadership is distributed among team members, and clear norms, roles, and responsibilities are developed to ensure transparency and shared responsibility for both process and outcomes. A continuum of evidence-based practices is developed to ensure that students and staff are proactively and effectively provided with appropriate levels of intervention and support. The continuum of evidence-based practices involves providing high-quality, evidence-based, differentiated instruction to all students to address both academic and social-emotional and behavioral domains. This instruction comprises Tier 1 or primary prevention. Within Tier 1, valid and reliable screening measures are used to monitor academic and social-emotional progress of all students, as well as to identify students in need of more support. Based on screening results used within Tier 1 and other diagnostic measures if needed, evidence-based small group intervention is provided for at-risk students within Tier 2 or secondary prevention. This intervention is provided in addition to high-quality Tier 1 instruction and can address both academic and social-emotional behavioral domains. Within Tier 2, valid and reliable progress monitoring measures are used more frequently to guide decision-making. For high-risk students who do not demonstrate adequate progress with Tier 2 supports, more individualized supports are provided through Tier 3 or tertiary prevention. Progress monitoring measures continue to be used even more frequently within Tier 3. Throughout the MTSS process, decision-making rules are used to guide data-based evaluation of the success of the framework at both the student and systems levels, as well as to guide adaptations to supports as appropriate. Within an MTSS framework, school leaders play a vital role in leading this work. From securing staffing to selecting team members, to identifying evidence-based programs and progress monitoring measures, obtaining resources, and engaging in the database decision-making process. Leaders at both the school and district levels play an integral part in actualizing an MTSS framework and ultimately ensuring that it is successful. MTSS implementation is further operationalized by attending to key implementation features. The leadership team has two primary sets of functions: executive and implementation. The executive function implementation features are related to securing and maintaining political visibility and supportive policy structures. They include things like securing stakeholder support and funding, addressing alignment between policy and systems, and assessing workforce capacity to ensure that adequate resources are available to support implementation. MTSS implementation features include providing ongoing training and coaching to staff, as well as a transparent system of evaluation and performance feedback to ensure that all stakeholders are engaged and aware of the state, district, or school's progress toward outcomes. In the next section of this webinar, Dr. Jennifer Freeman from the University of Connecticut will describe the alignment between school leadership standards and an MTSS framework.
Hello, my name is Jen Freeman, and I was one of the authors of this guide. And in this section, I will describe the process that we use to develop the crosswalk between the leadership standards and the MTSS core features. I will describe the hexagon tool, which is an important instrument that's used frequently within MTSS to support decision-making. And I will provide an overview of the alignment between leadership standards and the MTSS core features. And I will highlight a few key resources for you to be able to learn more. This guide was developed from a crosswalk between leadership standards and core MTSS features. In order to define MTSS, we created a compilation of features from 3 key tools provided by the Center on PBIS. We began with the Blueprint Self-Assessment, which has now been replaced by the District Systems Fidelity Inventory, or the DSFI. And we expanded from there to include features that were identified in the Culturally Responsiveness Field Guide and the Interconnected Systems Framework Action Planning Guide. These additional resources provided a critical means to define how equity is centered within MTSS and how mental health support can be infused within the broader MTSS framework. A key tool used in MTSS implementation is the hexagon tool. The tool is developed by the National Implementation Research Network, NIRN, and provides leaders with a support for decision-making regarding the adoption and implementation of practices. This assessment provides guidelines for examining district and school supports, capacity, need, and fit of a practice alongside the more traditional considerations of evidence-based and usability. Next, I will provide a standard by standard overview of the alignment between MTSS core features and leadership standards, but it is important to note before we dive into that although these are presented separately to highlight the connection between MTSS and each individual leadership standard, MTSS is an integrated process and should be undertaken holistically. Just as each leadership standard is connected to the others, MTSS features are interwoven within the framework. Leadership Standard 1, the effective educational leaders develop, advocate, and enact a shared mission, vision, and core values of high quality education and academic success and well-being of each student. MTSS supports leaders in the development and an evaluation of a clear mission, vision, and value statement through the use of data, including and prioritizing stakeholder voice, school by school alignment to a district mission, while still supporting school-based adaptations to local school contexts, and the planned regular review of both process and outcomes. Standard 2 is the effective educational leader acts ethically and according to professional norms to promote each student's academic success and well-being. And this is supported in the implementation of MTSS through explicitly prioritizing student success in all decision-making, increasing transparency in decision-making through team-based leadership, and using data to guide and evaluate decisions, as well as ongoing stakeholder input and feedback on all decisions. Standard 3, the effective educational leader strives for equity of educational opportunity and cultural responsive practice to promote each student's academic success and well-being. The implementation of MTSS centers equity and cultural responsiveness through the leadership team, which is representative and is guided by student benefit for each student. MTSS takes a strength-based approach to support both students and staff and focuses on systemic barriers to promote success and reduce bias. Data and stakeholder feedback are examined for both individual student support, but also at a school and district level to help uncover systems level features that need to be addressed in order to maximize student and staff success. Standard 4, effective educational leaders develop and support intellectually rigorous and coherent systems of curriculum, instruction, and assessment to promote each student's academic success and well-being. Within MTSS, curriculum and instructional assessment decisions are supported within a framework that prioritizes evidence-based practice and valid assessment, but then also regularly reviews the alignment and implementation of activities and provides integrated professional development and coaching to ensure fidelity of implementation. Standard 5 states that effective educational leaders cultivate an inclusive, caring, and supportive school community that promotes academic success and the well-being of each student. And the MTSS framework supports the development of this community of care and support for students through that representative team-based leadership that includes parent and student voice, regular formative stakeholder feedback on school values and norms, a shift away from zero tolerance and punitive policies and towards a more instructional approach for social, emotional, and behavioral skill development, and the development of a full continuum of evidence-based social, emotional, and behavioral supports. Standard 6 states that effective educational leaders develop the professional capacity and practice of school personnel to promote each student's academic success and well-being. And a primary goal of MTSS implementation is capacity building through the whole cascade of service, from the state to the district to the school to the classroom. Capacity is built through the regular evaluation of implementation, the review of hiring and evaluation systems to support increased capacity, the examination and preparation and accreditation of accreditation standards to support workforce development, the regular review of data to differentiate professional supports, and access to ongoing training and coaching and performance feedback at all levels. Within Standard 7, effective educational leaders foster a professional community of teachers and other professional staff to promote each student's academic success and well-being. And MTSS supports the development of this professional community for teachers and staff through that shared, transparent leadership structure and a decision-making system that goes along with systematic and effective training and coaching supports that develop a community of learners. The use of data to guide the allocation of resources and to differentiate supports for staff in areas of demonstrated need. In Standard 8, effective educational leaders engage families and the community in meaningful, reciprocal, and mutually beneficial ways to promote each student's academic success and well-being. Family and community engagement is central to MTSS and is supported by the representation of families and community members on the leadership team and in decision-making, regular opportunities for meaningful input on the selection and implementation and evaluation of key practices, and they support the dissemination systems to ensure that families and community members are regularly informed of the school and district progress. Standard 9, effective educational leaders manage school operations and resources to promote each student's academic success and well-being. The operations and management of school and district operations are supported through MTSS implementation by maximizing efficiency through strategic integration and alignment, transparency, and shared decision-making, the use of data and stakeholder feedback for resource allocation, and an ongoing focus on internal capacity building. Finally, Standard 10, effective educational leaders act as agents of continuous improvement to promote each student's academic success and well-being. MTSS implementation is a school improvement process. The regular review of both implementation fidelity and student outcomes is used to identify strengths and target areas for improvement. Differentiated supports are developed for both students and staff, ensuring that everyone gets what they need for success. Clearly defined and transparent evaluation and performance feedback routines and a shared accountability for student success ensure that the school and district continues to progress through iterative cycles of improvement. Each of these standards and the description of how MTSS implementation supports the use of that standard are defined and supported by key resources. Within the document, resources are provided from a range of national centers and can support leadership teams wanting further information about particular aspects of MTSS implementation. And in summary, MTSS implementation supports leaders as they seek to demonstrate each of these leadership standards. MTSS is a framework for organizing resources and maximizing effectiveness. Implementing MTSS at the school and district level supports leaders in meeting all 10 leadership standards. And this guide, it can be used by state, district, and school leaders to demonstrate how leadership standards are met through MTSS. And leadership prep programs can use this guide to integrate MTSS implementation into coursework and internship experiences to support leadership development as they seek to further define each leadership standard.
In this final segment, I will share an example that illustrates how a school might go about implementing MTSS. For the purpose of this webinar, I will share an example of how MTSS might be used to address increased social, emotional, and behavioral needs of students as a result of the current COVID-19 pandemic. A different example, addressing how MTSS might be used to increase the efficiency of resources available, is provided in the document. The superintendent of Johnstown Public Schools has been hearing from school principals in her district that more and more students have been presenting with increased social, emotional, and behavioral needs ever since they returned to in-person learning after school buildings were closed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. More students are having trouble staying focused and disrupting the learning of others. There has also been a significant increase in the number of students who have gotten into physical fights, as well as other students who have required medical attention to address significant mental health needs. Principals have also noted that many staff have shared that they are feeling stressed and are questioning their ability to adequately support students during this difficult time. Providing students in the district with high-quality, rigorous academic instruction while promoting compassion, collaboration, and critical thinking have been important core values of the district. However, the superintendent must find a way to uphold the values and high-quality instruction within a context in which more students and, frankly, staff are requiring increased support. She has heard that MTSS is an approach that can be used to strategically use resources to address current areas of need. So she decides to explore implementation within the district. She begins by creating a district-level leadership team comprised of curriculum specialists in reading and math, the director of special education, an administrator representative from each school in the district, and herself. The team begins by reviewing the MTSS Infrastructure and Support Mechanisms document, which is available on the National Center on MTSS website and linked within this document to assess current infrastructure for MTSS district-wide. Upon reviewing the document, the team feels that the district as a whole has a strong sense of the mission and vision. Additionally, district-level leadership have a good understanding of MTSS and commitment to refining systems and practices to address areas of need. Some core features of MTSS are already in place district-wide. For example, evidence-based programs are used to instruct academic content areas across the schools. Universal screening measures are also used to assess the academic progress of all students. However, the district-level team believes that Tier 2 and 3 systems and supports are somewhat inconsistent and not clearly defined. Additionally, until this point, district-level leadership of the MTSS process has not existed. The team decides to begin by identifying one school in which to pilot MTSS. Parkside Elementary School already has more clearly defined Tier 2 supports to address reading and math, so they select that school to refine and strengthen current systems. Their hope is that they can build a model site for MTSS implementation within the district, which can be used as an example for other schools district-wide. Next, a school-level leadership team at Parkside Elementary School is established. The team is comprised of the principal, assistant principal, school psychologist, reading coach, math coach, a special education teacher, and 2 general education teachers. The team plans to meet every other week while initially establishing systems and structures within the school. The principal of the school will also participate in the district-level leadership team, which will continue to meet every other month to share the progress that his school is making. The team at Parkside Elementary School begins by taking stock of current MTSS features that are already in place by completing the self-assessment of MTSS implementation, or SAM, as a team. The SAM enables team members to rate MTSS implementation across 6 domains, including leadership, capacity and infrastructure, communication, data-based problem solving, 3-tiered model, and data and evaluation. For each domain, the team rates several items on a scale ranging from 0 to 3. This is a snapshot of a few items that are rated within the leadership domain. After team members rate all the items on the SAM, the individual item scores are then averaged to compute domain scores. These scores, along with individual item scores, can be used to prioritize next steps and action items. Lower domain scores indicate areas of greater need, whereas higher domain scores indicate areas of greater strength. Upon completing the SAM, the Parkside team is happy to note that several foundational components of MTSS are already in place. For example, the school has an intervention block built into the schedule in which students currently receive small group reading or math intervention if needed. Additionally, teaming time is built into the schedule, which provides staff with time to regularly meet in grade level teams to share ideas and problem solve strategies to support students. The school also uses evidence-based curricula to guide reading and math instruction. According to data obtained from universal screening measures, over 80% of the school's population has achieved the identified cut score on the measures in reading and math, indicating that they are meeting grade level standards. This is a good indication that the Tier 1 core curricula for reading and math are currently successful in supporting the student population. Completing the SAM also prompted further conversation and inquiry that enabled the team to identify areas of growth to target moving forward, specifically around how data are used to guide decision-making to support the social, emotional, and behavioral well-being of students. In order to address SEB skills, the school has implemented PBIS for the past 5 years. According to evaluation measures, PBIS is currently implemented with fidelity across the school. However, the PBIS team has noted that over 20% of the student population had more than one office discipline referral by the end of October, suggesting a potential need for extra support. Analysis of office discipline referral data, disaggregated according to race and ethnicity, indicates that students of color within the school are twice as likely to receive ODRs than white students. Additionally, members of the PBIS team have noted that in comparison to previous school years, 3 times as many students have been visiting the nurse regularly with complaints of headaches and stomach aches. The team wonders if these students might also benefit from additional support. However, there is not currently a system in place to easily identify these students and provide them with support, as they are not typically captured in the office referral data. Overall, information gathered from the PBIS team suggests that Tier 1 SEB supports in the school may not be adequate in supporting at least 80% of the student population, and that a universal screening measure that captures students with internalizing behaviors may be warranted. Other areas of growth were noted as well. The team noted that Parkside had some good programs and resources for providing evidence-based reading and math intervention. However, they recognized that they did not have as many high-quality resources to address SEB skills. Additionally, progress monitoring for SEB intervention was currently happening informally. The team felt that interventionists struggled with selecting and utilizing appropriate progress monitoring tools, as well as analyzing data to inform decision-making. Finally, a need for clear decision-making rules to determine which students were in need of Tier 2 and 3 supports, as well as clear guidelines for evaluating whether or not a student was making adequate progress with intervention, was also identified. After identifying these areas of need, Parkside's principal worked with the team to prioritize action items and ensure that these items were aligned with other district initiatives. Because a large number of students were presenting with increased SEB needs, the team decided to focus most of their efforts on strengthening Tier 1 supports, hoping that by doing so, the number of students requiring additional support would be reduced. More specifically, the team purchased Second Step, an evidence-based social-emotional learning program for teachers to implement in all classrooms across the school. Additionally, a mindful minute was incorporated into the morning announcements on a daily basis in an effort to strengthen self-regulation skills and focus attention at the beginning of the day. The principal recognized a need to address equity in school discipline practices across the school. And finally, the team decided to explore SEB screening measures to supplement office referral data in identifying all at-risk students in need of additional support. While most of the efforts in the first year were focused on Tier 1, the team also drafted potential action items to strengthen systems and practices for Tiers 2 and 3 in future years. Again, the principal helped the team to prioritize these action items and ensure alignment with other initiatives. More specifically, the team planned to identify additional programs for social, emotional, and behavioral intervention and appropriate progress monitoring measures. Additionally, the team planned to develop specific rules to guide decision-making and help the team to determine when an intervention might be modified or faded. In order to actualize these items, the team, along with the principal of Parkside, identified the need for professional development across several areas. Those areas included training in culturally responsive discipline practices and implementation of the Second Step program for all staff. The team also planned to provide training on the use of the SEB screener for targeted staff who would be responsible for analyzing and using the data from that measure. In future years, the team planned to provide training on selected SEB intervention programs, as well as training on progress monitoring and data analysis for interventionists. Training on all topics was planned to include an initial workshop to roll out the initiative, along with ongoing coaching and technical assistance to ensure sustainability. The principal recognized that some trainings could be provided by district-level staff with expertise in the area, but that they would need to seek outside consultation and support for other initiatives. The Parkside team found several resources to be helpful in planning and implementing MTSS. They found the CASEL program guide to be helpful in summarizing information on a variety of social emotional learning programs and ultimately helping them to choose the Second Step program. They used the Hexagon tool to ensure alignment with other district initiatives when selecting an appropriate SEB screening measure and Universal Social Emotional Learning Program, or Second Step. And they used the Training and Professional Development Blueprint for PBIS for organizing and prioritizing professional development needs for staff. The team established a regular schedule for sharing universal screening data pertaining to both academics and behavior with all school staff, as well as updates on progress monitoring with MTSS implementation. They also sought feedback from staff when developing MTSS systems to ensure clarity and understanding. The Parkside team found that involving all staff in MTSS implementation through opportunities to share feedback and by regularly sharing data promoted transparency and helped to strengthen buy-in. At the end of the school year, the team completes the SAM again to assess their progress on implementation of core MTSS features. Results indicate that they have made significant progress on Tier 1. Analysis of universal screening data indicates that over 80% of the student population continues to meet grade level expectations in reading and math. Average office referrals per student per month have decreased over the course of the year, and rates of disproportionate discipline have also decreased. Additionally, after implementing the Universal SEL program, the number of students visiting the nurse has decreased over time. And teachers are reporting that they're feeling just a little less stressed. This is a good indication that Tier 1 academic supports continue to successfully support the majority of students, and the modifications made to Tier 1 behavioral supports have been successful in supporting more students, potentially decreasing the need for Tier 2 and 3 supports for some students. The team also finds that behavioral support staff are spending less time responding to problem behaviors in the classroom, which has freed up time for them to assist with implementation of the Universal SEL program in the classroom and to engage with other initiatives. We hope that you found this webinar to be helpful in orienting you to this document and highlighting how MTSS can be leveraged by school leaders to support student learning and well-being. Additional resources and examples can be found by downloading the document from the State Department of Education website.